Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session today. I'm excited to kick things off with our first slide, which is all about Mega Goal 1.1, Unit 3. Today, we'll be exploring a fun and useful topic. What will be grammar. In this presentation, I'll give you an overview of the key concepts, how to use this grammar in real-life situations, and some practice tips. So, let's get started and make this an engaging learning experience together. All right, let's dive into slide 2. Here, we're going to explore the differences between will and be going to when talking about the future. It's important to understand when to use each one correctly, so we'll clarify that. Next, we'll look at how to ask questions using the future tense, which is key for engaging conversations about upcoming plans or predictions. We'll also cover how to form negative sentences with the future tense, so you can express what you won't do. Lastly, we'll practice making predictions about the future using both will and be going to. These are essential skills for discussing future events confidently. Remember, mastering these points will help you communicate future intentions and plans clearly and accurately. Today, I want to walk you through some fundamental structures we use in English questions and negatives. So on this slide, you'll see a pattern starting with V, which stands for the infinitive form of a verb. Then we have the subject, which is who or what we're talking about. Next comes the verb be, which can be am, is, or are depending on the subject. After that, there's a WH word like who, what, where, when, why, or how. This is used to ask questions that seek specific information. Then we see the V again, the infinitive verb. Following that, the subject appears again, forming part of the question structure. Then we have will, which introduces future tense questions. After will, there's typically a WH word if you're asking a specific question. For example, what will you do? Or where will they go? Next, the slide shows question, emphasizing that the pattern can be used to form various questions. Moving on, we see will / going to, which are two common ways to talk about future plans or predictions. The structure can be will plus verb or going to plus verb. Then we have the negative form, which includes not. When you want to make a sentence negative, you insert not after will or going to. For example, I will not go or they are not coming. Finally, there's the affirmative form, which is just the positive statement, like I will go or they are going to visit. Overall, these structures are essential because they help us form questions, negatives, and affirmatives clearly and correctly. They are the building blocks for expressing future intentions, making inquiries, and sharing information effectively in English. Now let's look at some examples of how we use will in different contexts. First, in a positive sentence, we say, they will watch a horror film. This indicates a future action that we expect to happen. Next, in a negative sentence, we use won't, which is a contraction of will not. So, we say, they won't watch a horror film, meaning they are not planning or expected to do that in the future. Finally, when we turn to questions, we start with will at the beginning of the sentence. For example, will they watch a horror film? This form is used to ask about future possibilities or plans. And the answer to such questions can be, yes, they will, if we believe they will do it, or no, they won't, if we think they won't. These examples are fundamental because they help us understand how to form positive, negative, and question sentences with will, which is essential for talking about future actions confidently. This connects to our overall theme of mastering future tense and making clear, correct predictions or plans in English. Now, let's look at some examples of how to use be going to in different contexts. When we make a positive statement, we say, for example, he is going to travel to England in the summer. This shows that someone has a plan or intention for the future. On the other hand, in negative sentences, we use not to indicate something we don't plan to do. For instance, we aren't going to enter the exam means we have decided not to participate. Finally, for questions, we start with are you going to ask about someone's plans. For example, are you going to come to school tomorrow? When answering, you can say, yes, I am, or no, I am not. These examples highlight how be going to helps us talk about future intentions, whether affirming, negating, or asking about plans. It's a very useful structure for everyday conversation and planning. Now let's look at some common ways we use will in everyday language. First, we use will to talk about predictions and uncertainty. For example, when I say, "I think it will rain," I'm expressing my guess about the future, but there's some uncertainty involved. Words like think, maybe, or probably often accompany these predictions because they show that we're not 100% sure, just making an educated guess. Next, will is also used when we make offers. For instance, if I say, "I will lend you some money," I'm offering help or assistance. It's a way of showing willingness to do something for someone else. Then we use will when we're making promises. For example, "I won't tell anyone" is a promise that I intend to keep. It's a way of assuring someone that I will do or not do something. Finally, will is used when making decisions on the spot while speaking. For example, if I notice that there isn't any milk left, I might say, "I will go to the shops and get some." This shows an immediate decision made in the moment. Overall, will is a versatile modal verb that helps us express predictions, offers, promises, and decisions. It's a key part of communicating about the future and our intentions. Now let's take a closer look at predictions with proof. For example, you might say, "Look at those clouds. It is going to rain today." This shows how we can use observable evidence to make predictions about the future. Next, we have planned actions. Imagine someone asking, "Would you like to go to the cinema tonight?" And the response being, "Sorry, I am going to study for my maths test." This illustrates how we talk about our intentions based on plans we've made. And finally, intentions. For instance, "I am going to work hard next term." This expresses what we personally intend to do in the near future. Throughout all of this, the key phrase is "be going to." We use it to express predictions based on evidence, planned actions, and our personal intentions. It helps us clearly communicate what we expect or aim to do, connecting seamlessly to the overall theme of expressing future ideas. So when we think about decision-making, especially in uncertain situations, words like think, maybe, and probably come into play. These words highlight the uncertainty inherent in many of our choices. Think suggests that we're forming an opinion or hypothesis, but it's not always definitive. Maybe introduces the possibility that something could happen, but we're not certain. And probably indicates a likelihood, but still leaves room for doubt. These terms are important because they reflect how we process information and make judgments under uncertainty. They remind us that not all decisions are black and white. Many are shaded by degrees of confidence. Recognizing this helps us understand the importance of clarity in communication and the need to assess how confident we are in our conclusions. Overall, these words underscore the inherent ambiguity in many decision-making processes and the importance of being mindful of how we express uncertainty, especially when communicating with others. Let's take a look at how to form negative statements in the future tense using will not or won't. When we want to say that someone or I, you, he, she, it, we, or they will not be doing something in the future, we simply add not after will. For example, "I will not be graduating," which can also be contracted to "I won't be graduating." Now for short answers, if someone asks, "Will you be graduating in 2 months?" The response can be "No, I won't," if you're not planning to graduate then. Conversely, if you are, you can say "Yes, I will." When we want to give a positive answer, we often just say, "Yes, I will," and for a negative, "No, I won't." Let's look at the question form now. To ask about future plans using be going to, we say, "Will you be graduating in 2 months?" The answer then would be, "In 2 months, I will be graduating." This brings us to the concept of the future progressive tense, which is used to describe ongoing actions in the future. We form it with will plus be plus the ing form of the verb, as in will be going to. This tense is especially useful when talking about actions that will be happening at a specific time in the future, giving a clear picture of plans or scheduled activities. So remember, negative forms use will not or won't. Questions start with will. and the future progressive helps us describe ongoing future actions. This is a very flexible and useful tense for planning and expressing future intentions clearly. Now, let's take a look at some ways we can talk about future plans using the future progressive tense. For example, I might say, at this time tomorrow, I'm going to be swimming in the ocean. Or I could say, at this time tomorrow, I'll be shopping in the mall. Notice how we use the structure S plus, be going to plus be plus Ving, or S plus will plus be plus Ving. This tense helps us describe actions that will be in progress at a specific future moment. It's very useful for expressing plans or predictions about what we will be doing. So, whether I'm planning to swim or shop, I can use the future progressive to describe those ongoing activities. This connects to the overall theme of talking about future intentions and activities in a clear, natural way. And remember, this tense emphasizes the continuity of the action at a certain future time, making your plans sound more vivid and precise. When we talk about the future, these expressions help us specify particular points or periods of time. For example, saying in 2 months or in a year allows us to focus on what will be happening at those specific moments. Similarly, phrases like a week from today or at this time tomorrow pinpoint exact times in the near future. Then there are expressions like this time tomorrow, which emphasize what will be happening at a particular moment the next day, and on Thursday, which specifies a particular day of the week. We also have broader time frames, such as during the next 3 months, which refer to an entire period, or by the year 2000, which looks ahead to a specific future point. All these expressions are used to talk about future events or actions, but they also relate to the future progressive tense, which describes ongoing actions at these specific times. Understanding these expressions helps us communicate plans, predictions, or expectations clearly, making our conversations about the future more precise and meaningful. They are essential tools in both professional and everyday contexts when discussing what's to come. Today, I want to talk about some common future expressions we use in English. First, you'll notice phrases like will be or are going to be. These are used when we're talking about plans or predictions for the future. For example, we might say, I will be there at 5 p.m., or we are going to be ready by then. Next, we have will listen or are going to listen. These are simple ways to express your intention or decision to listen in the future. Like, I will listen carefully to the instructions, or we are going to listen to the lecture. Then there's a slightly different construction. Won't control or aren't going to control. These express what someone or something will not do in the future. For instance, I won't control the situation, or they aren't going to control the project. Similarly, won't run or aren't going to run are used to say that something will not happen or someone will not participate in running or operating something. For example, the machine won't run without power, or we aren't going to run that experiment today. Moving on, will study or are going to study are phrases that show your plans or intentions to study in the future. You might say, I will study harder next semester, or we are going to study at the library tonight. Finally, will live or are going to live are used to discuss where someone will reside in the future. Like, I will live in New York, or they are going to live abroad for a year. Overall, these expressions help us communicate our plans, intentions, and predictions clearly and effectively. Whether we use will or going to depends on the context, but both are essential for talking about the future. People won't be reading magazines like we do today. I believe that in the future, magazines will primarily be consumed electronically. This shift reflects how technology is changing the way we access information and entertainment. People probably will still be using ballpoint pens. Despite all the advances in digital tech, there's always going to be a need for writing by hand. There's something about physically putting pen to paper that remains important. We can't use computers for everything. There will always be tasks that require or are better suited to traditional tools like pens. So, even as digital technology evolves, certain habits and tools will persist. Overall, this highlights how our habits adapt, but also how some basic needs, like writing, stay constant, connecting to the bigger picture of how technology and tradition will continue to coexist. Answers will vary, but here's a sample answer to consider. A. Do you think there will be enough food for everyone in the world? B. I believe there will be. Scientists will figure out a way to feed more people with the resources we have. This highlights an important point about innovation and scientific progress, helping us meet global challenges. It connects to the overall theme that, despite growing populations and environmental concerns, human ingenuity can help us find solutions. So, while opinions may differ, the key takeaway is that collaboration and continued research are essential for ensuring food security for all. Now, let's talk about the final steps to reinforce what we've learned. On the workbook page 241, you'll find an exercise labeled D. This is a great opportunity to apply the concepts we've covered today in a practical way. I encourage you to work through these exercises thoughtfully, as they help solidify your understanding. Additionally, there's homework assigned related to this content. Completing these tasks will deepen your grasp of the material and prepare you for future topics. Remember, consistent practice is key to mastering these skills. So, to wrap up, make sure to review the workbook exercises and complete your homework. Doing so will ensure you fully absorb this part of the course and stay on track with your learning goals.